wear your watch to tell time. I wear my watch to tell you how valuable my time is.
Welcome in, closers. Guys, this is Who the Fuck Closed Last Night, episode 1. We are so excited to finally be bringing this to you, to finally be making this happen. This episode, we're just going to introduce ourselves, tell you how we got in the industry, when we fell in love with the industry, why we stay, and we just really hope you guys enjoy this as much as we've enjoyed making it. We look forward to telling more stories, not only of ourselves in the industry, more topics, but really get stories from all our community in the industry. So episode 1, here it comes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We synced, baby.
Action, baby. Here we are.
Here we are. Okay. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the very first episode of Who the Fuck Closed Last Night. Yeah. I'm Chad.
I'm Jacob.
Yeah. We're stoked about this. This has been a long time coming, man.
Yeah, we've been talking about it a lot without talking to anyone other than just ourselves. It's just been like I've just been excited.
Yeah.
About actually trying to figure out how to do this. It's we're professionals, but not at this. But we are professionals at talking. That's a really big part of what we're doing here, right?
It is. Yeah. We really are. Like, our goal is to make a podcast for people in the industry like ourselves who are pros in the industry, are getting started in the industry, and really just kind of tackle all of the different topics and situations that we deal with day to day. I think, both of us have. How long have you been in the industry?
The industry.
Well,
Okay. I would want to hear feedback from other people, because this is one of the few industries that I've heard where people call it the industry more than they call it like bartending or serving or restaurants. And so, I mean, my personal opinion is that this is the industry.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
No, because I mean, I've been doing it since I was like 16 years old. I'm 31 now, so I guess that's almost 15 years.
Yeah.
Give or take. There was a little hiatus there.
Yeah, same.
That everyone experienced.
I think I started. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. We'll get to that. That's a whole different situation. We'll get to that subject as well.
Episode.
Yeah. 100%. How the industry changed. For myself, I think my first. I got Chick-fil-A when I was 16. I would consider.
I started at a Zaxby's.
At a Zaxby's.
Chicken, fast food.
I mean, that's the gateway. That's the gateway drug.
Zaxby's was quick casual.
It was more quick casual.
Yeah.
That Zaxby's sauce, dog. It's legendary. It shines pennies.
Yeah. I mean, it's chicken sauce. I feel like it's the same thing. What is it? Horseradish or mayonnaise base? It depends on how you make it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's orange and it's delicious.
It's orange and it's delicious, baby.
And I'll eat it right now if I had some.
Yeah. And then, I've been, I'm 40 now. So, 20 off and on for 24 years. And I've always gravitated back, I know there's a lot of reasons. Why did you get in the industry though?
Man, I mean, it was very circumstantial, which I feel like with restaurants and bars and everything, that's kind of, most people just kind of end up there. I don't know. I've rarely ever talked to someone who, like, I want to be I guess maybe sometimes there's a kid here and there that's like, I want to be a chef when I grow up or something. Mm-hmm. But like, no one's ever like, I want to be a server when I grow up.
Right.
I mean, for me, it was like, I had my first job when I was 16. I worked at like a CVS pharmacy, and it was really boring. And then a bunch of my friends got a job, and my brother got a job at the local brand new fast food restaurant. And I was like, I want to work with my friends, and it just sort of kept getting out of hand from there. I mean, as far as my flow to where I'm at now, because I'm a bartender at I'd say a pretty nice restaurant.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of experience. I've been bartending now for like a decade, and I feel like that's sort of like what I consider my trade. Like, that's what drives me and keeps me going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was just like in the kitchen, just a 16-year-old working like after school and on the weekends, just like literally frying chicken and like, got to move up to like the salad station after starting on the toasted fried appetizers station. I was always like, I remember the job was like, you either do dishes or you clean the floors at the end of the night. It's like 2 or 3 jobs of what you're supposed to do at the end of the night in the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah, and it just slowly. I kind of stayed in the kitchen until some point in college, and then. So I like went to college, transferred to a Zaxby's there, kind of kept going back and forth at that same restaurant because I feel like that's a cool thing about the industry, right? That we're in is. Especially with corporate places, like you work at one, you can work at all of them. And so as far as like being able to move, obviously like the management levels and stuff, that's a little bit different. But when you just kind of work at a place, you're just, if they have a spot to fill, you can fill that spot. Yeah. And kind of like probably what a lot of people have experienced with like retail stores and stuff like that. It's like if you work for Walmart, it's like, oh, you want to move to another state? Well, just go to the other Walmart.
Yeah.
It's not that simple, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I had a similar deal. It was like, I was 16. I wanted money to pay for, I had a girlfriend, so I needed to have money for dates and stuff.
So my parents were like, "We helped you get the car, but how
are you going to put gas in it?" Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not that it was I'm very happy that I had that, but
right. Yeah, it was similar, and I actually thought Chick-fil-A was only for girls because it was.
No, it is. That's actually.
It's because it had chicken in there.
That's an old slogan if you look back.
You can that was it was like only ladies can.
It's for women.
It's for for cows and women. It's ridiculous. But I started in the counter. I had to I was the counter ringer.
Oh, so you started as a cashier?
Cashier.
You started front of house.
I started front of house. And then I worked my way to the complications of dealing with the drive-thru, which at Chick-fil-A was like a machine and still is a very intricate machine. My pleasure is where I still say my pleasure to this goddamn day.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and you're trained on that, and it's like, but yeah, it was a big step up, and I got a $1 raise. How
much were you making an hour when you first started?
Believe it or not, I was
about 10 years my senior, right?
Yeah, this was 2000, and I was making $10 an hour.
That was the year 2000?
Yeah, which was great money.
I was in kindergarten, Chad.
Shut the fuck up. Don't say that shit. I'm over here slinging chicken, and you're just
10 an hour?
10 an hour.
You were making money,
it was
bro.
pretty goddamn.
Are you kidding me?
It was great money. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Yeah.
I made. But you were in Texas, right?
I was in Texas. Yeah.
And when I started, I was making $7.25 an hour.
Yeah.
And that would have been 2000. God, what year is it now? I got to think. No, I can remember. I just have to remember what grade I was in. It would have been 2010.
Okay. Yeah.
That was easy for me.
There we go.
Always the last 2 numbers of the year is always the grade of school I was in.
Oh, that was really nice. That makes
it makes it easy to remember stuff. Like in 2010, I started 10th grade.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Yeah. So you started first grade
in 2000
when I was working at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, about a year into your Chick-fil-A.
God damn it. Cool. Great.
A lot happens in 10 years, Chad.
A lot does, man. But yeah, it was the same thing. I mean, I never saw myself staying in the industry. I think, a lot of people get into it because I got back into it.
So Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
So you worked at Chick-fil-A just through high school, and then you went to college?
Through high school, and then I started, doing theater and going to college for theater. Mm-hmm. And with that, I needed something flexible where I could get a shift filled and get a week off, and it would not be a problem. And
So was that pretty early in college that you started looking for a job, or were you fortunate to be able to like go a couple years before you needed to start working? Or?
Yeah, it was like 2 years in, and my buddies actually were the ones who were like, "Hey, we just got this serving job at this brand new." It was like one of the first gourmet burger places. It was called Corner Burger. It was featured on Oprah when that used to mean something. So it was like, she was like, "There's
Everybody gets a burger."
Exactly. It was this brand new. She was like, "You're not going to believe this, but people are making fancy burgers, and you should try it." It's really good. And
Yeah, there was a time where that was a novel concept.
it was a novel. It was a brand new.
Because that's a big like meme thing now.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, welcome to our. It's like a place that just says eat, and they have like metal chairs.
Uh-huh.
And it's like every burger is $20 with no sides.
Exactly, with like the Edison lights hanging over. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what this place was. And it was my first intro to the industry.
We're not like most places.
Yeah. It was also my first intro into working for an owner and a GM who was like a straight up asshole. Like I was shocked at like how much of a dick this guy was.
So that wasn't the case at Chick-fil-A.
No, Chick-fil-A.
They're good Christians.
They're good Christian men
right.
and women. Mostly women, apparently. No.
But never not a man or a woman. Right?
Unfortunately, Chick-fil-A has a lot of problems because of truth. That's a whole. We're going to edit this out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could give context to my morality to be like,
Yeah.
I would never support them openly.
No.
So, on the books, fuck Chick-fil-A.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
But if someone gives me a sandwich, I'm going to eat it. But that's true for literally any food. There's no ethical consumption in capitalism. But they're a bunch of fucking homophobes, right?
Oh, they are at 100%.
Which I do not support.
I do not support that at all. I do not. Yeah, absolutely not. But yeah, dude, like that was the flexibility was what attracted me to it. When was your first of that? Like front of the house, like not fast food, not counter service, like serving.
So did
job.
you?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you've always been front of the house.
I have always been front of the house.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never worked back of the house.
That's one of my things I get to brag about. Not that it matters that much, but I like started in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Started like basically like dish bitch, not that. I mean, it feels that way. That is like the heart. Nah, there's the term heart of house now, right? Instead of back of house. In a teamwork environment, everyone genuinely does matter. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I did that. I went to school, kind of kept working at a Zaxby's. Went to some other like chicken restaurant. If you're from the South, there's like a million different versions of chicken and fries and toast restaurants. Ben, I'm sure there's probably some Amarillo-based chicken place that's basically like all the other ones.
Yeah, it's all like the Kings.
But yeah, you just have your different ones that get big and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I went to this other one. What was it called? It was called Leghorns. Actually.
Leghorns?
Yeah, it was owned by it was just some dude, and he like clearly was copying Zaxby's.
Like to a T, just like it was toast.
But it was also
wings.
wild because I was working in that kitchen, and it was like we had all sorts of crazy shit. We had like baked beans and chicken livers.
Yeah,
fried green tomatoes, which were actually fucking delicious.
Dude, that's some Southern stuff right there.
No, it was like soul food, but also just fried chicken plates and stuff. But it was kind of like, it was just some dude who probably had no business doing it. But it was fun because I was just like working for a guy, not giving a shit about how well his business went and just eating his food and hanging out and making minimum wage off of him. But then he opened another, and this was in Jacksonville, Alabama, which is a tiny little town in the Gem of the Hills, the foothills of the Appalachians. Yeah, he opened so I left him no, I didn't leave him. Jesus, I'm remembering wrong. I was working for him a couple days a week, and then I started working at this Rib Shack.
Okay.
This barbecue restaurant called Cooter Brown's Rib Shack, where I was like the skinniest guy that worked there. and the kitchen was about this wide, so you had to. It was
Scoop by
awesome.
everybody.
Just a bunch of big old boys making some of the best ribs
Oof.
ever.
Yeah.
And then that Leghorns place like opened. He opened a second location, and there was a bar. He was kind of trying to do like a sports bar situation. And I was like, I'll learn how to serve. And it was just in this really like, town that had like a lot of like drug addicts and stuff in it. So like my first serving job was me having no formal training, just like going up, taking an order, dealing with like. I remember one time this guy like came in the restaurant and started taking his pants off, and then a cop that was chasing and just like walked in. I was like, sorry about that. And just like, yeah. So I like started at this, which has a lot of context about where we met later on.
That's true.
But like, sometimes you just work these places that are on some main strip.
Yeah.
And in a place with lots of crime and or drug use and vagrants that are just going to walk in at all times. So I started there. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, man, I'm getting, like, cash tips. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I joined a fraternity. Oh. And one of my fraternity brothers was like, dude, you make crazy money working at Olive Garden.
They make insane money over there.
Yeah.
At the Olive Garden.
Where I was at in the world, actually it was like the lowest income city in Alabama at the time.
So that was like a fancy, that was like the restaurant.
Yeah, Olive Garden was the nicest. I think there was some other weird place that was like for the rich people. That was somewhere nearby. I can't remember the name of it. I didn't work there. I didn't know anyone.
Right.
Which is a big part of this industry, like knowing people.
Yeah.
I had a guy ask me the other day, he was like, how do you get to a place like this? And I've only ever gotten a job at a restaurant by like walking in and shaking someone's hand.
Yep.
And being like, do you need someone to work for you?
Mm-hmm.
At this point in my life, I have a resume and stuff like that. But that is the only way I've ever.
Oh, I think you're dead on.
job.
I think that is like, showing that you either know somebody that works there that can like recommend you, or you walk in and shake a hand, even if it's like an online, even if it says apply online. Like, I've been a manager before, and those are just names on a list. But if somebody comes in and shakes my hand and has a conversation with me, I'm more likely to hire that person.
Oh yeah,
sure.
there's a face.
Exactly.
Also, you also in the middle of service with a restaurant, like so many things are going on. Like you're only going to remember something that's more than a 5-second like email that you get, right? You're going to remember someone walking in.
Yeah.
Which is technically how we met.
It is.
I don't know if we're that far along in the story yet.
Yeah, we'll wait on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do want to go back to, because you mentioned something about how you kind of like just had to figure it out serving. I think a lot of times, like if you're somebody that's like, man, I really want to try serving, or I really want to try bartending. Even if you've been a server and you want to try bartending, many times you gotta go to a place that's willing to give you a shot and just kind of try to figure it out. I had a similar thing when I started bartending, where I'd served for a long time, but I was like, I want to bartend. Now, either I could wait it out at the restaurant I was at and become a bartender, which can take a very long time.
It's a whole thing.
It's
really a whole hierarchy that is a little subset of the world.
Yeah. Or I could I've started looking up newer restaurants coming around, and I found a barbecue joint that was looking for bartenders, and I was just like, hey, I want to bartend. I've never done it before, but I think I'd be good at it. Yeah. And they were like, we'll give you a shot, man. And at first I was not good at all.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely, I don't want to say more so than serving, but I'd say like for most people, especially like, in your barbecue joints and stuff.
Yeah.
There's more of a learning curve of skill set.
Right.
Because it's one of those jobs where everyone is familiar with the job. Everyone goes out to eat.
Totally.
I don't know like shit about the systems administration stuff or certain marketing. Like I don't know most things, right? Mm-hmm. But like, so many people in so many careers have like, they've been served and they've had bartenders and they're like, oh, I could do that, which you can. Yeah. I think literally anyone can do it. It'd probably be hard without hands and arms.
Sure. Absolutely.
But, it is like one of those skill sets that like, it is easy, mm-hmm. but like, being able to do it is one thing. Being good at it,
Completely different.
and then of course, like, you know, getting at the, you know, places where if you want to make a career out of it, like you and I have, and you want to like continue to like, basically the only way to do it better is to like go to places where people are spending more money. As far as like earning tips, especially like.
Yeah, and to you know, like you said, it's anybody can like learn. Yeah, with bartending, I mean with serving too, but yeah, anybody can make a drink, but there is a level at which you have the option to become passionate about it and learn and absorb a lot of things when it comes to knowledge about different cocktails. But also just the skill set of learning how to consolidate actions.
Oh yeah,
We've talked about this before. I don't give a shit if you can juggle like 3 shaker tins.
oh, so many people don't like it.
No,
Please make. I ordered rum and coke. Please.
Why does it take
the classic,
5 minutes?
Please just make my drink. I'm
Please
so
just-
thirsty.
Exactly. But there's
That
something.
shit is cool though. Not
Not to-
player bartending.
Yeah.
There's whole competition circuits and stuff, and that shit is absolutely wild.
It is wild. It is like, but it's like circus trick type stuff.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
it's
But watching an efficient bartender to me is like so much more impressive. Like when I see, like we talked about, like somebody stirring 4 different cocktails with like 2 cocktails in each one, and they're making like 6 drinks at the same time while still interacting with guests. That's where I think it's like there's different levels of skill level that you can decide how much you want to give to this industry.
Yeah,
how much
and-
passion you have for it.
You know, and it tends to kind of go along with like, you know, I mean, like I mentioned, I started in back of house, and like, you know, I was doing much more than like putting toast on a grill and putting chicken in a fryer and like chopping up, like building a salad up. And I wanted to touch on something you said that was your first. You got to a point where you had your first like asshole manager.
Oh,
And
yes.
my very first manager was like it was like a Gordon Ramsay wannabe, but like he not wannabe as in he wanted to be a good chef. He just wanted to yell at people.
Right.
No, I remember I like had the interview. He's like, "I'm an equal opportunity asshole," and like, I mean that has played. He was just like a total, I think, like a coked out dickhead. Actually, I think he's better now.
Hopefully.
I think he's gotten better now. Actually, you know, whatever. But yeah, he would just like get pissed and throw things and shit like that. But I think it sort of like gave me a context of like the type of people and the type of like variation in personalities that I was going to be dealing with because, I remember, you know, one of the things that kind of kept me at the job is like like many people do as they go into their teen years, I started like smoking weed. And like, you know, weed being like one of the safest drugs also is the one that shows up on a drug test for the longest.
Right.
And like drug testing at jobs, I remember that being like kind of a, you know, going to school with mostly like working class, like kids of working class people. It was like, I can't smoke weed. They drug test me at my job,
Right.
depending on what everyone was doing. And I remember everyone being like, yeah, working at restaurants are dope because they don't drug test ever. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, you don't want to drug test restaurant workers because you're not going to have any employees. But like, I mean, I remember that being part of the, I guess I'd say maybe like the zeitgeist of the whole like industry and how I kind of stayed in it is like, I was like a pothead.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, cool, I can have this job and they're not going to drug test me at the beginning. They're not going to drug test me periodically. Like
They don't
this
really
is
even care if you go to the dumpster mid shift and like, you know.
Yeah, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen kind of thing. You know,
Exactly.
a smoke break's a smoke break, right? So, but I think it just sort of like, it laid out the foundation of like, it just aligned with like my lifestyle choices in general at the time. And before it became like a passion thing. That was the case in college. I was like, yeah, this is like the only job I can get as a college kid that like smoking. Probably not the only one. There were plenty of. I mean, I knew plenty of dudes that I don't know did all sorts of stuff. I think people that worked at golf courses and stuff. I mean, I think eventually employers started getting smarter than hiring teenagers and drug testing them.
Right.
If they wanted someone to work at
minimum
nighttime.
wage. Yeah,
Minimum
nighttime.
wage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that was something that I immediately loved about the industry was the different type of, like you mentioned, there's such a wide variety of people that you meet at each restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
But then you meet the same ones every restaurant you go to.
Oh yeah.
Weirdos, people with like, I think anybody who has like ourselves, like ADD, ADHD, where your attention's always shifting. It's like a tool at the restaurant. So many creative people. Yeah, you got your your potheads, your angry chefs, angry front of the house managers.
Yeah.
You have such a wide variety of interesting, weird people.
Oh yeah.
And I've always loved weird people.
Yeah, and it's kind of that, since anyone can do it in terms of like the skill set, as long as you can pay attention and like anything, like knife skills in the kitchen, none of it is impossible for anyone to learn.
Right.
Basically, if you can sustain a job,
Right.
at all, like if you actually not hardly even, but like if you can be taught anything, there's nothing in the restaurant that's actually impossible for literally anyone to do. But
to be good at it,
be good
I
at
think
it
is
is
a different. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like that's a big thing, how it differs from so many other industries. I went to college for 4 years and dropped out, which I don't want to say I'm proud of it, but I don't really care. There's so many people now in the restaurant that I work in. There's like people with master's degrees who are like, I make more money at this job than I ever could at working in my degree.
Yeah.
Not to talk down on those specialized roles.
No.
But yeah, there's so many jobs and skill sets that require so much. Like, you can't even get a job in the field if you don't even have the degree.
Right.
Even if you could, I more old school people. There's plenty of people that have gotten into crazy industries with, before so many industries started requiring college education to even get the job.
Totally.
That predicament of like, you need 4 years of experience and 4 years of college, but you can't get the job until you have the 4 years of college. So how would you get the experience? Mm-hmm. There's definitely plenty of restaurants in the world that like will not accept you without experience, right?
For sure.
I mean, where you work, where I met you, that's like a place that gives people a shot, right? Whereas
Absolutely.
the place that I happen to be at is like, you've got to be the right person at the right time to not have like a decent resume to get a chance there.
Yeah.
Not because I think that we're better. It's just like that's the environment they're cultivating.
Right.
But beyond that, it's like, you still have to get in there and figure it out.
Totally. When did you? So we've talked about like getting into the industry, how we got in there, and kind of how we continued when we were young. When did you figure out that you actually loved this industry and that this was something that you wanted to continue to do?
Yeah, that's great. Kind of pick it up, I think, chronologically where I left off.
Yeah.
Got into the Olive Garden, kind of all throughout that whole college experience. I was doing some other jobs, exploring the world. It is a amazing job. Like you said, there's so many types of people. You can always be grinding for some other industry, because if you don't know, you can be like, I only want to work 1 day a week.
Yep.
Can you accommodate that? And they're like, well, you're already trained. Yes. Mm-hmm. I remember like, I've had plenty of like people that were like teachers, and they worked like Monday night, Saturday night or something, because they had a teacher salary, and a couple $100 extra a week made a big difference, which for most people it would. But so I started doing these like traveling gigs. I was working at music festivals. I was doing all sorts of different like travel gigs and stuff. So it was cool because in the summertime I could like take extra time off, and I'd come back for a week, leave for a week. There was those restaurants, those Olive Gardens were big enough to be really flexible. And I worked for that company for like 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. I even moved up here to Colorado, still working for them.
Yeah.
And just like transferred to, it's right up the road from where we're at right now.
Oh, is this
where
one
I
over here?
transferred.
Oh, hell yeah. I know exactly.
I was driving like an hour.
Yeah.
But I just happened to like, that's who I like called. It was very like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
But I kind of, having done travel work and stuff, I I was able to feel very confident that I could pretty much just move here and then make the call. I didn't make those arrangements beforehand.
Right.
I just like called my old store, called the new store, went and had a chat. I was, I had started bartending before I moved up here at one of the many Olive Gardens I worked at.
Yeah.
I used that, but then I pretty much, I don't know. I don't think I really knew at that point. I definitely didn't know that I was a lifer.
Right. Yeah.
It was really post-COVID, which I guess we could talk about, like how had you made that call that you were going to be in this for life pre-COVID?
No, I had not.
So it was
Pre-COVID.
post-COVID.
It was post-COVID.
What were you doing? So I know you worked at the burger joint.
Yeah.
I was in college.
That was in college.
'Cause you were really stepping into another career.
I was, yeah. And then I
Acting, filmmaking, theater, right?
exactly. And I was fortunate enough when I was I think I was like 23 that I got an agent. And then I continued to do the service industry because of that very reason. I had an agent. I would have gigs. I worked at Hula Hands serving, and then Hula Hands. Yeah.
Hula hands. I thought you said hula hands.
Like Hula Hands.
Yeah. Just,
Then you do that. Yeah.
so that was after the barbecue joint.
That was before the barbecue joint. Then I worked at the barbecue joint, but
That's where you started bartending.
bartending. I
I consider myself a bartender. You do too. That's
That's
really
what
we are now.
That's what I wanted to do. At that point, I was like, this looks like a better gig. But I really wanted to work at Alamo Draft House because I loved movies. I loved their concept. I loved seeing movies there. And I was having been a customer there, I started getting really into craft cocktails. And their front house bar was craft cocktails through and through, and with a manager that was super knowledgeable about all types of liquors, all the new craft cocktails coming out, which started with the classics. So that's what I really wanted to do. And I was fortunate enough that the GM of an Alamo came over and I was bartending for him. And he saw at that point how I very quickly adapted to being able to serve multiple people and to move quickly and move efficiently. So he asked me, he was like, man, have you ever thought working for me? And I was like, dude, I applied for you and I never got it.
And you just applied online?
Yeah. And
Case in point, right?
Exactly. And he was like, well, come in tomorrow. And so I did and had the interview, got it. And that was such a good system because it was like at first I had to train in the back of the house bar where you were serving making drinks for all of the theaters. Service well.
Yeah, you weren't talking to anyone. You literally were just making drinks.
And you're making drinks for like 300 people.
Right.
So
yeah,
you're
they're coming in waves.
Exactly. Yeah. You're cranking them out. And then I moved to the front.
Such a cool place.
It was so cool, dude. And it was such, I love, so, still love it. Still go there. That's the only place I see movies. But I still was just an actor first, bartender second. Still learned so much about craft beer, about craft cocktails. That was where my passion for it came. And I fell in love with, that was the first restaurant where I really felt at home with the other employees. Those were like my family. I still to this day love so many of them and still keep in contact with so many of them. And we did so many creative things. It was so fun. Anyways, after that, I got out of the industry as a beer rep. I did beer repping. So out of the industry, but still kind of one foot in it.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Colorado,
the sales job. That's always one of the classic moves out of the industry if you don't already have something going on.
Exactly. And I thought, oh, well, this will be more sustainable. And then when I moved up here, I had a sales job with a company doing advertising for cannabis companies. So I was like, sweet, sales, easy. This is the same job.
You were kind of moving out of the restaurant industry at that point. I was.
Yeah. At that point, I thought I would never go back. And then I lost that job during COVID because of COVID. The lockdown happened a week after I moved up here. Nobody wanted to buy advertising for cannabis companies when they didn't know if they were going to be fucking open the next day.
Right.
And was out of the job and then missed the industry. I straight up missed the industry. Went back to become a supervisor and then manager for Postino. And I found that passion, man. I missed it. I remember the first day I walked in, I was like, I miss this culture. I miss these people. I miss these regulars. I miss being around a kitchen staff that's a little salty. I miss all of it, dude. And that's when that's when I realized I was like, no, this is the industry that I love and that I want to be in.
Yeah.
And that actually kind of brings us to.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's kind of how, going into how we met. I was working at Yard House, which is the same company that Olive Garden owns.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they own a lot of stuff. And yeah, I mean, I actually at the time, I wasn't like getting the shifts. The location I was at, there was just like, there were some people that were well established that had a lot more experience than me. And I just like, I was struggling. I was serving, but like, I just like, there was a point where I'd been in the industry for a long time. But like my skill set needed some improvement. Mm-hmm. And since I was struggling to improve that was like, the turn and burn where you're taking a shit ton of tables.
Yep.
And you have to be able to like keep track of a lot of things. I was like struggling. It was a big menu. I wasn't like really like putting the effort into learning the food. So like my performance, performance-based scheduling, I just wasn't really hitting it. So I wasn't making money. So I started like Lyft driving. Mm-hmm. And since I could just like turn that on and like drive all night or something like that, it was like making me better money.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then of course like COVID hit, both of those jobs weren't really, making me any money. I went to work at like an Amazon warehouse that like brought me through COVID. I tried a sales job. I went to like a door-to-door sales job as like restrictions were lifting. And then I was like, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to go back to restaurants.
Yeah.
I think, I was like, I don't really want to try that festival work anymore, even though that was starting to like pop back up. I was like, I tried some of those gigs again, but I was like, I don't really want to travel this much just to like try and earn a basic income. I was like, I want to get like that stable, like day in and day out sort of thing while still having that flexibility to travel if I wanted to.
Right.
And literally I had moved down to Denver at that time and I was like, I'm going to go down to this place that I went to one time and I'm just going to walk in and see if they need a bartender. And I walked in and I met you. I walked into the Postino you were working at.
That's right.
We hit it off and yeah, I really, I loved that job. I loved, like, once I started, like, getting behind the bar and, like, talking to those people, it's a very chill environment. Mm-hmm. I was just, like, I was making friends with all my staff. I was like, this is it. I'm in it. I'm in it for life. I don't care if I'm working here or working elsewhere.
Yeah.
That was, like, kind of brings us to you and I meeting. And
Yeah. Oh, dude, and that was something because and we'll get more. Some of these topics we're kind of bouncing around. We're going to get like deeper into specific topics that we're kind of slightly hitting here.
Yeah, you guys out there.
I'd been a national trainer for Alamo, but I'd never been a manager. And when I applied, I kind of wasn't sure if I was going to get it, but fortunately, because of my past experience of being that national trainer, they did hire me on, and you were actually my very first interview ever as a manager.
Really?
Yeah. You walked in, and Bree was like, "Hey, man, it's your turn. You're up. Get over there and interview that guy and see if he's going to be good." Yeah. And then I talked a little bit about your experience, but then we talked about absolutely anything else. We sit there for like 30 minutes, and it was like immediately I was like, "This guy's fucking cool as shit."
Yeah, we became friends.
We became friends very quickly,
and also just needed someone. With someone that you guys, I think at the time it was like, we would like to hire someone that just like knows what they're doing so we can just train them and like let them go.
And just let them go.
You had there's just like the right amount of shifts for one experienced person that was available kind of thing. Uh-huh. It's like we can hire 2 new people or we can just like.
Yeah. That was during a time where this restaurant. It was the, you were my first interview. Ever, and we hit it off, and it was an immediate like we're gonna be homies type vibe.
I like this guy.
Yeah, exactly. I really like this guy.
Yeah, I remember there was a another coworker. I won't go into details, but you went up to that coworker and you were just like, I just hired a guy and you're going to love this dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it actually ended up being someone I dated.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like
you're
literally
really going to love this guy,
yeah, man.
at least for a while.
Yeah. And we that happens in the industry all the time.
That's a whole
That's
10
a whole
episodes
10
right
episodes.
there talking about
relationships in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, just so, I mean, we worked together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You still work for that company.
I do, yeah.
In a different, you just bartend now, right?
Yeah, I stepped down and realized that as much as I enjoyed leading people and being there for people as a manager, I realized that I enjoyed the aspect of just showing up and doing my job and going home and being able to connect with guests on a bartender level more than I did managing. I felt like I was a good manager, but I really enjoyed just bartending a lot more.
Yeah. And I am, left that company. I got fired. I don't know if that's even safe to mention.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I got myself fired. Yeah. I guess that would bring up the point that, like, we've talked about how flexible this industry is and everything. I don't know of a lot of industries where, and maybe it's part of like how our state is, we live in a at-will employment state. So having been fired from a place almost never really means a whole lot in our state. But I think that there's a lot of flexibility in this industry to like live your life, and like, life isn't perfect and you go through bad times. Sometimes, you're having a rough go mentally or whatever. And there's always opportunity for you to end up in a new place and have a new beginning, because no matter how much experience you have, if you're going to like a new restaurant that you're helping open, or if you're going to a new restaurant because you got fired from somewhere, there's always a little bit of that starting over.
Yep.
You've never worked with this cuisine before. You've never worked with this type of wine before. Or, the cocktails are on a different level. There's different standards from what you've known for a decade even.
Yep.
And you have to constantly sort of restart,
Right.
which could be considered kind of a bad thing. But it's also one of the redeeming qualities is that gaining experience helps you, get your foot in the door. But, we can talk about the concept of a stage, like where you literally would go to a job and basically do like an audition.
Right.
And, that's a little more common in, I guess, fancier places, for lack of a better term,
Sure.
more, or places with very established programs where, they're just getting a feel for if your general style of serving and or bartending, because there's different styles, right? You expect something different when you go into a secret speakeasy cocktail bar versus when you go into a sports bar or a dive bar.
Right.
And those are different types of skill sets. There's different types of drinks that are common in those areas. There's different types of, pouring the drink free versus using like precise measurements, for example. There's a million other examples there, but, there's sort of that constant opportunity to improve yourself, improve your skills, and also like start a new chapter. And I don't know of a lot of industries where beyond you just having a general skill set, that you're constantly developing for that space that you're in.
Absolutely.
And from the top down, there's always that you're never expected to come in and be perfect. Mm-hmm. And I think it really reflects on, and you've mentioned how many types of people you meet in like working with a diverse, type of, like diverse groups of people. You have to like know how to take people for what they are and learn them as you spend time with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not to say that other industries don't offer that opportunity, and I can only speak because I've only worked in so many other places. But it's really the epitome of, in the positive light. There's plenty of negative lights that we get to talk about, but you can walk in, make a longtime friend, make a lifelong friend, and you can also meet someone that you may not end up liking, but you figure out how to work with.
Right.
And it really reflects a lot of like the ebbs and flows of living a life.
Yeah.
And that comes down to work-life balance, which I hope that a lot of people listening, if you're in the industry or if you're just interested in whatever, I hope that, I would hope that everyone gets to experience that work-life balance. But I think in the way today's day and age is, I think that's less common to really have that sort of that balance between what work is and what life is, but being able to kind of integrate it, but also keep it separate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you touched on something as well that is one of the major reasons we wanted to start this podcast, is that, there's always this new level to grow, depending on, where you're going, these new places you are going to learn new experiences, and different types of skills. But we talked about this before we made it, that our theory in making this is that whether you're a line cook in a dive bar where you're like covering like 50 covers by yourself with a fryer and a flat top, or you were at the most fine dining establishment, garnishing things with tweezers, you're going to find the same type of people at every single place. And they are basically the same person with a different skill set, but also in the same industry, which is so fascinating to me. You know?
I mean, and it's, anywhere, there's no way I probably could have come prepared with the numbers. I don't know how many employees, but there's literally millions just in our country.
Yeah.
People, I don't know what my guess would be.
Right.
2 to 5 million.
That sounds about
industry workers. I don't know. You think about how many small towns have two or three little restaurants, and there's probably 20 or 30 people, and that's everywhere in just our country, not to mention every part of the developed world.
Exactly.
I mean, there's probably a main man to pour the drinks even in the smallest undeveloped part of the world. It has been. I would love to learn a little bit more about like how this whole like job and gig, and like I was talking to a bar guest the other day, and he was, the conversation got deep. It was really slow. It was one of those really beneficial things, and one of the reasons I like bartending. Like why do you do this? Why do you like this? And it's like, I feel like I would want to do this even if I lived in a society that didn't have money. Like I would want to be the guy at the local meetup spot that was just kind of back there, serving up the food, pouring the drinks.
Right.
I would want that to be, that would be a great role to have in a small community where money did exist in a different time, in a different realm.
Yeah.
Do you,
No, I first off, you mentioned that to me a couple of weeks ago after you had that conversation, and there's something almost spiritual about that, where it's like, I get to be involved in serving people in this way that causes you to have a unique connection with your guests and those around you, and it's like deeper than just giving them a drink. It is like, like you said, there's something in us, because I feel the same way. After you told me that, I was like, oh, dude, I feel the same way. Like if there was no money, I would want to be the person helping serve the community in the capacity that I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I wouldn't know that if I hadn't had the opportunity to do this, but I mean, there's a lot of different ways to serve.
Right.
That's the term for part of this job, serving. But I think really people that have the opportunity to work in places in their life where that is, and there's so many different like industries, right? My immediate thought is like hospitals, that sort of thing, doctors, nurses, et cetera, where, your life's work is providing something for people directly. And when I was in sales, you were in sales. While that, I think that was part of how you kind of like motivate yourself in the day-to-day job. It's so like economically driven in that like, my motivation here is to like get this commission or whatever.
Right.
Not knocking people who have found that passion in those jobs, real estate or something. But I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there because, I'm sort of on the clock. Not sort of, I'm literally on a clock, on a time clock. And yes, I am like trying to butter people up so they give me more money. Right. But, a lot of my work and trying to like establish this as a career is like getting myself in the space where I don't really go in worrying about money. Mm-hmm. I'm able to, I know the bills are paid because I know I'm in the place. I've got my shifts. I'm able to sort of overcome that. And I think that's a big part of like developing this skill set like we talked about. Yeah. Compared to say, you were in acting and, had an agent and stuff. You still do some of that, right?
Yeah, I still do some of
that. How's that different for you in terms of, being in a world where you have to advocate for yourself, and like you've got to get the audition versus other people. Like how do those like sort of two worlds
correlate?
Correlate and like differ as far as like just sort of the takeaway. Obviously, I'm sure like having a full day of acting on a gig that you landed and everything is probably really rewarding. But like, how is it different from what we do now?
Oh yeah, it's depending on the gig, it's a lot more internal work if I'm like preparing for like a deeper role. Being on set, there's a lot of just like hanging out, standing around and waiting and stuff like that. And it's very much, it's just in a different environment of just kind of waiting for your scene and then being prepared for the scene, then just chatting with people in between. So it's a lot slower pace. It's a lot of fun. But I don't sit still well. So
do I.
Yeah. So
we both have some sort of attention deficit, neurodivergent diagnosis at some point in our life, right?
Absolutely. So I love being on set. I absolutely love it. But I'm the guy that's like constantly like finding a reason to walk around and go talk to people. Even, I do enjoy my solitude on days. That's something with bartending, even though I'm outgoing and talkative. After a full shift of talking to people all day, a full week of that, I can spend 2 days not talking to a goddamn soul. On set, I can't sit still, so I will just be talking crew members and cast members. But then at work, it is a mindset of all right, talking to people is my job today.
Yeah.
And getting, and I'm just always fascinated by how can I do this even more efficiently today? What can I improve or twist or change where I can be even faster and better at this? And there's also that aspect of I get to make people's days sometimes. Not all the time, and I mean like make people's day, like really have either a conversation with them or do something special for them where that day has become better for them.
Yeah. I mean, we're very lucky in that regard, right? Like, you get a few drinks in people, they'll tell you how shitty their day was or how shitty their week or year was. It's like, I work in a hotel, so like there's every reason there is to travel. Mm-hmm. I will be talking to those people, but we get that reward because people will look at you in your face and say, "You just made my day." Like instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
Right? But I mean, it's as far as like, realizing I want to be in this forever and, no matter how successful any other endeavor I go, I always can envision myself like, even if I were, get to be lucky and, I don't know, be so loaded and like have yachts and shit. I just can't imagine myself not like finding a way to sort of play that role.
Yeah.
I guess, if I were lucky enough to not have to be on someone else's dime, I could still imagine myself. I'm hosting a party. It's like, I'm just going to go behind the bar and like whip it up for everybody.
Oh, dude.
Like that sort of thing. Like, I could just foresee that being something that I would want to do. And, I've been lucky enough to find my passion in this, and so have you. And I know that's a lot of like what we want to talk about here. I hope that you know us a little bit better out there.
Yeah, we look forward to tackling more of the topics we've kind of touched on, to really dive in deep. That's we wanted to let you know who we were and where we came from.
Yeah, decide if you find our voices annoying or if you'd like to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Or if you would be stoked if we were the guy making you a ridiculously ordered drink, which we'd be happy to
do.
That's
man.
a topic
Oh,
right
that's
there,
my
right?
favorite. That's a whole topic. Well, Jacob, like, where if somebody wanted to meet you in person, and see you bartend, have that drink made for you, where
you
where
go
you
to the first floor of the Clayton Hotel in Cherry Creek North in Denver. It's a restaurant called Keeney's. It's awesome. Mostly because of me and not because of really great food and a bunch of other cool people that work there. What about you, Chad?
Yeah, man. I work at the Postino in Lohi, slinging them drinks behind the bar, pouring your happy hour wines, usually in the evenings. Usually.
That's why we're doing it. We're just trying to get people to come to the bar.
That's it. Exactly. We're just trying
it's
to make
the
more money.
glorified version of that one girl that posts, or I shouldn't just say girl, that one person on your Instagram story that says, come see me, and they have a picture of an empty bar. That's just us, but in a way bigger thing.
Just a longer format. That's
We're super excited. Things to come.
Yeah.
I think next time we get together, we're going to try and talk about living life without weekends.
Yep. Yep. And we're also in between. We're going to start introducing you to industry places that you can go that not only are going to hook you up, we're going to find their story, what inspired their bar, how they became an industry spot. So be looking out for that because we're going to give you some places that you're going to want to go to as an industry worker.
Yeah, we're just super stoked. We didn't mention we're based in Denver. Yeah. We really want this to reflect where we live. We want to be open about who we are and what our roles are in this industry that in this city is very somehow big, but also somehow small, which is probably the case in most industries. But this is where we want to start. And if you're tuning in and you're in this city, please, we would hope that whoever's listening to us, even if it's just two people, which I would be super stoked on. Yeah. Us two. I'm Jacob.
I'm Chad. Before we got to give a big shout out to our producer, our boy Ben. He also works at Postino. Anybody who works with us on this will be in the industry. We're also works at Postino, and we're just all diving in on this endeavor together, and we're gonna see what happens, man.
Yeah, so stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned, man.
And I guess that means we're closing up.
I guess that we're closing.
Last call.
That's last call, baby. Yeah.